everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Danna-Gift, and I have here with me Jamie and Tanner Hawk. The Hawks themselves flew in to be on this podcast. That was super lame. So, a little introduction on these two. These two have undergone such tremendous changes in their lives recently, and I wanted them to be on my podcast because they've been able to navigate it all with each other and still continue to have a thriving business and family. They're the founders of Altitude Operations, a project management company that helps business owners to reach success in the first few years of launching by putting together processes and systems that are easy to implement. It allows business owners to actually move the needle rather than get confused with their day-to-day activities. In the past year, Jamie's business began to quickly grow, and she's realized that she was going to need some help running it. So Tanner was actually the provider during the slower times of her business. I'm correct in saying that, right? But then made this crazy leap of faith along with Jamie to put aside his career in physical therapy, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but holding the title of a doctor actually requires a long commitment to achieve that title. Surprise, surprise, right? So you can imagine the weight of that decision, which is what we're totally going to dive into as well. So they uprooted their lives, moved out here to Phoenix in pursuit of growth in their business, and have been crushing it ever since. They have I put here, they have harvested 2 kiddos. You guys are harvesting them. A 5-year-old spunky daughter and a 2-year-old character of a son. So these two are such a powerful couple. It's amazing to be able to witness a couple thriving in their personal lives and in their business. They've got systems and processes in their relationship, which makes sense because Jamie is the total project management queen that allows them to work effortlessly. And I want to talk about all of that. So let's dive into today's episode, The Power of a Power Couple. I feel like I should have a sound effect board that goes like at least claps or something. Yeah, like I need validation.
DJ Khaled.
DJ.
We the best.
If I had DJ Khaled on my podcast, then that's the only soundbite I need.
Yeah.
He says something, you're just...
Yeah. Thank you for being here. I'm really, really grateful. I'm excited to share your guys' story because I do feel, as I was saying earlier, like I know you guys obviously, but I don't know deeper of you guys, like the actual everything that went into the whole process of you moving out here. So before we dive into that, I want to start from the beginning. How did you guys meet?
We actually met in college. We were going to Chandler Gilbert at the time, and we were both in the honors program, which was very bizarre for me to be in.
You guys were both in the honors?
Listen, I tested and it shocked us all, but I ended up in it. But now I know why, right? Because Tanner was in there. That's how we were supposed to meet, I think. So it makes sense why that day I took a good test.
Kind of lucky. Yeah, that's kind of a funny story in and of itself. I had walked into class and I sat down across the room, and Jamie's probably going to be embarrassed. I had sat down and I noticed her. 100% I noticed her across the room. And so I sat down and we kind of almost locked eyes. And anyone who knows Jamie, this won't surprise them, but she literally stood up from where she was sitting, walked across the room, and came and sat right next to me.
No shit.
The first day we saw each other.
He walked in and I was like, all right. And
so you initiated, you saw him and you're like, yep, going over there.
Yes, and I just sat down. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cute. I freaking love that. How did that make you feel?
So crazy. I was excited, obviously.
You're like, I've been chosen.
I was excited. I was like, oh, sweet. Look how beautiful this girl is. And, obviously she likes me. She just stood up from her chair and came over and sat next to me.
Wow.
So we kind of, hit it off right away. We started talking immediately. But, I left the country for 2 years. And so there was a lot of time in between there. So it's not like that was the beginning of our story. And then it just was a smooth sailing straight through. There was very years gap of time where we never dated, nothing.
So did you guys kind of start off as friends that were obviously had the attraction to each other, but you never actually initiated a relationship? It was more of you're cool, but let's not explore that avenue?
Yeah, it was more of friends, classmates. I think that I probably had expressed that I had a crush on him, but he was leaving the country for 2 years, so I think that he knew I'm not gonna get involved with somebody just to leave.
What were you leaving the country for?
So that was when I was Mormon. So I was on a mission.
Got it.
And I'm trying to
Completely
think
opposite
back.
of what I was thinking. I was like, you're running away from your problems.
No, yeah. So I knew that I was going to be going on a mission, obviously. And I don't believe at that point that I knew where I was going, but I knew that I would be going within the next year. So I was not really like looking to get involved with anyone at the time, just because it was like, I'm leaving for 2 years and that's just the way it goes, you know, like I don't want to start something new that close to me leaving. And, you know, Jamie was obviously not Mormon or anything. So even that was like, okay, well, I can't get involved with that currently, you know? And so I actually we ended up writing 1 or 2 times while I was gone. We still have the letters that we wrote to each other.
You guys just keep it.
It was, so there was a big gap of time between
there
when
was.
and then once those first letter or two, like a month after I left, there was no communication for at least 2 years basically.
2
So I came back.
years. And then how did you guys reconnect?
Tanner, like, on his Facebook was like, oh, I'm back. And of course I messaged him and I was like, oh, you're back from your mission.
Okay.
Let's hang out. And so that's kind of how it happened. But same, like, I saw he was back and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to shoot my shot again.
And you weren't in a relationship or anything at that time?
No, not at the time. I had just gotten out of a relationship. But yeah, no, it was kind of like perfect timing because I had just gotten out of one. And it wasn't a great relationship, so it led me like straight to Tanner, which was great.
Wow.
So that was crazy.
Dang. Good times. I had no idea. And I know you told me that you were Mormon before, but I feel like it's barely now clicking in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, shit, he was Mormon.
I really was.
Yeah,
you were
super Mormon.
We got married in the
Very much
temple and everything like that.
No
So
way.
we were both Mormon at one point. So
you were Mormon too?
Yeah,
I actually baptized her.
He baptized me when he got back from his mission, and then we got
No
married.
way.
And then after we had our first daughter is when I left.
Okay.
And then about 6 months later, he left.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you guys don't classify as Mormon?
No.
Do you classify as anything right now?
Not currently.
No, not
We
currently.
talk about it a lot. We do talk about it a lot, especially as our kids get older. You know, our daughter starts to ask questions, and she's got some family members who believe some things and some, and so they kind of talk to her about it, and she comes to us for clarity, and, you know, we've talked about it a lot, but we haven't, like, nailed it on the head of exactly what that looks like for us and our kids moving forward. So we believe a lot in just being good people. Yeah. And just do what's right and be a good person, and that's what we try to live by, so.
And I think it's been really good, you know, especially for me, at least my own thoughts on it, is to like not have any structure anymore. Like I didn't have, you know, my whole life growing up, I had this very much like this very structured life. Like everything that you're doing is like almost planned out to some degree because you have this like set of ideals that you live by. And now, so once I got out of that, it was like, well, what are my actual ideals? Like I had to figure that out for myself because I didn't have any guiding piece anymore that was like telling you this is the way you should live your life, this will make you happy. And although it was hard, I'm so thankful for it now because it's like been this basically like this whole like self-discovery journey of like who am I actually, if I have no other outside influence of who I want to be, which there still is a lot of things, you know, society and stuff, but you know, who do I actually want to be? And so I've had to figure that out, and I'm still figuring it out.
And I mean, both of you guys kind of navigated that a little bit more heavy on your side, but both of you had to navigate that together, which I find very interesting because I actually have a friend who is going through it with, I guess her and her boyfriend broke up now, but they were having, they were butting heads in religion because she's Jewish and he's Christian. And so they've been having a lot of difficulty navigating that. So did you guys have difficulty navigating that when you were kind of dropping out of that, I guess, association?
Yeah, and the weird part about it is we just had our first kid too. So we were kind of transitioning into parenthood, which is what led me down the rabbit hole of like, is this church true? You know, just really led me on my discovery of like, I have a kid now that I have to teach, and like, do I believe what I believe? And so we were kind of navigating being new parents, and then I left the church, and I think that if you asked either one of us, had we not had our daughter at the time, I think we would have probably ended up separating. There was a lot of conversation for a while about divorce and how, you know, it's just not going to work. Like, you're going to be unhappy or I'm going to be unhappy, and we're just not going to be able to make this work. And so there was a lot of talk about that, but I think what kept us together in the long run, thankfully, was the fact that we had a kid. And so Obviously within 6 months Tanner left, and so it got better quick. But for a while there, it was dicey whether this was going to work.
Yeah.
So,
and from my perspective, you know, I had grown up my whole life believing this. I had spent 2 years in another country, you know, preaching it to other people.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it was me having to like break down that barrier of like letting myself be open enough to even the idea that it possibly could not be the way, you know, could not be true or whatever it is that I need to figure out. And I didn't, you know, that was like a huge decision for me.
Yeah.
And so it was like feeling like I need to decide between this family that I now have and this other part of me, this religion that I've, you know, been in my whole life. And so I got to the point where I was like, I have to give this the attention that it deserves.
Yeah.
Because I need to make a decision either way, because like she said, I don't think that both of them could have coexisted. I don't think that if I wouldn't have left, I don't think it would have worked out between us. So I had to, you know, basically strip away every preconceived notion, all the confirmation biases that I had, and just truly give what she was sharing with me a chance. And that was really kind of a turning point where I just opened up to the idea that, you know what, let me just give it a fair shake. And then that's when the dominoes kind of started falling. And but it was so good because I left under my own accord because it was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
At that point,
you didn't feel like she was forcing you. You felt like you kind of went in your own flow.
100%. And that's how it had to happen.
Yeah.
If it wouldn't have happened that way, it still would have been a mess to deal with after that. So it's so good that it happened in that way because I could stand on my own 2 feet with that decision and and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that don't think that's the case. So I don't really talk to people about it, but that's the truth of it is like, I was 100% convicted. And if I wasn't, I wouldn't have done it. So. Yeah.
Wow. Do you feel like that was probably the most troublesome times in your relationship?
No.
That was quick.
No, absolutely not.
And I say that there's been more recent things, I think, that have been troublesome. So I guess maybe those are more fresh, so they feel more troublesome.
Got it.
But no, I think there's been times in the more recent future that have been tough.
Yeah. For me, I would say it is up there. Like, I think that we've had other tough times, but I would say that's right in the mix with anything else that we've ever dealt with, especially on my end.
Yeah. The weight of it is also going to be dependent on each of you individually, too.
Yeah, the weight was definitely way more on him. You know, when I joined the church, it was hard because my family. Yeah. When I left the church, it was easily because my family. They were like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
You know? His family, complete opposite. He left, and that was hard. For him, his family, all of that kind of stuff. So it definitely weighed more on him. It was easier for me to walk away and not look back.
Yeah.
So.
And thankfully, my family's been so awesome. Like,
they've been supportive of it.
My relationship with my family's great. Like, which is not always the case for people. So I feel super lucky to like have the family that I have that, you know, accepts us for who we are, and you know, it's maybe different. Maybe different from what they believe, but they can see that we're still good people. We still are doing good things. Like
that's so
they love
good.
our kids, so it's like it's great that I'm so thankful for that, because that would have just made it even harder than it already was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's crazy because I feel like a lot of people kind of, they don't know how to navigate the relationship that they have with their parents, and it really can make or break a relationship, even though you don't want it to. It's they're a part of your life, and they've been teaching you things since you were a kid. So it's like, what are you supposed to do? Just wash it all away and pretend like okay, never mind, guys, I found my person. Like, fuck off. It doesn't happen that easily.
Exactly. I totally agree.
So your guys' relationship now, though, it's good, it's thriving, you guys have had a crazy shift recently, obviously, and we're going to dive into that. But the relationship seems good and healthy right now.
I think it's better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Almost in every way.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that is probably hard for a lot of people to like, how could that be possible? Because we literally spend 24/7 together. Like it's not even a question. Like if we're apart for like a couple hours,
it's weird.
It's like tomorrow night I have to go to an event and she can't come because we don't have a babysitter. So I have to go by myself.
You're doing it yourself.
So I'm gonna have to go by myself, and like we're sponsoring it, and so like that's gonna be weird. Like we've talked a ton about it, just because like oh wow, that's weird. Like we're not gonna be together for a couple hours. And we hear people all the time, like, how do you do that? And
it's not always pretty.
For sure not.
I can imagine.
A lot of times it's not
for
pretty.
Sure not.
Like, but I think that, you know, we both tell each other, you know, fuck you sometimes, and we go our separate ways, and it works for us. I mean, honestly, it's not beautiful all the time, but
I think it's healthy to be able to separate during events because you can't be there with each other 24/7. We're not omnipresent. Like, there's no way.
And I think you become reliant. I know for me, I become like reliant. Like, I almost like I'm not confident when Tanner's not around. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where's my other person? Like, where's my confidence? And so I think that it's good. Like, I've joined a couple groups without Tanner, and so that's been good. I think just for time away, and then obviously for my confidence, but. Yeah, I think time apart is good, and we're seeing that more and more. But also spending a lot of time together doesn't bother me either. So I'm happy with it.
And now that we have like the office and we have separate office spaces, we're just so busy during the day that like although we're in the same place and like there's one little tiny wall between us, you can basically hear every single call the other person's on.
Yeah.
It's that, so that's kind of like our time apart. But you know, on our drive home, that's like our reconvene, spill everything that happened during the day.
It's
and then
cool because
move on.
now you have more stuff to share with each other versus when you're just hanging out all day. Because Dylan and I, when we first started dating, we were just together 24/7. And it got to a point where we couldn't talk about anything that happened our day because we were like, oh, we literally experienced the entire day together. And now we're like, oh yeah, like we need to separate a little bit because it's fun when you actually have something to tell your partner.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about the beginning of your business and the huge shift that really happened for both of you guys individually and together. So when did you start your business officially?
We started it, or I started it
January 2019.
January 2019. I took my first client in September
2018
of 2018. The business looks much different than it did back then. But I basically started it. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. I had Harper, and I always loved work. I always just loved having tasks, checking them off, like there's an accomplishment there.
Yeah.
And if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're listening to this, you know that you do the dishes are dirty again. You do the laundry, there's more dirty laundry. There's nothing ever being checked off of your list ever.
Yeah.
It's recurring things that just keep happening. So for me, it was hard. And so I was looking for something to do. And so it started by mistake. I never really had big dreams to turn it into anything. It just kind of started happening. And I started to realize like, all right, like this has potential and I could do this. And then I think the biggest pivotal part of the business was hiring on Dylan and Joey as coaches.
Okay.
That's when it was like, I got the confidence that there's other people that believe in me. There's other people that believe in my business, and they're going to help me structure it in a way that it can be a business. That, I think, is what took it to the next level. And that's when we really started to have conversation of what does this look like long term? How can we make this profitable?
So you already saw the vision for Jamie as well.
No, I would say that I did not, especially not fully. And we talked a lot about it because, you know, she had all these big dreams and visions of what it could be. But because I was busy in my career as a physical therapist, and, you know, that's what I was focused on, and she was doing her thing, and obviously I had to support a lot during that time with, like, the kids and stuff. You know, she was working probably 100 hours a week sometimes, like literally just like working all the time.
Oh, so you were working into the late hours of the night, and you came home and had to, after your long day of work too, had to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we you know, it was very much like a tag team thing, but I was not doing any of the work in the business. I was just taking on the role that I needed to
at the house
so that she could do that.
Yeah.
And I think looking back on it now especially, I think the reason why I was so willing to do that was because you could feel her passion for it. And anyone who is around Jamie and hears her talk about the business and like sees her passion behind it, it's undeniable. Yeah. And so I think that was a big part of why I was so willing to, you know, obviously as a man, any man out there knows that, you know, I was going to work, I would drop the kids off at daycare and then go into work, treat patients all day, pick the kids up on the way home, and then come home. And I had like a 45-minute commute. So, I'm out of the house for 11 hours by the time I work. And
a lot of times you were having to cook dinner or at least finish dinner that I had started. Because it was like, I was like, I don't do this stuff. Like and I would wake up 5 a.m., 4 a.m. and just work till the kids woke up. Yeah, it was and that's what I'd say is like, there were harder times, I feel like, than that for me. Because I felt so disconnected from my family. Because I, like, you can't have two priorities, really. You have to learn to turn one off and turn the other one on, and I didn't know how to do that. I do now, 3 years later. I feel like I'm finally at a point where I'm now telling him, turn off your laptop. Like, are you kidding me? You have to work tonight? Yeah. Get off your computer. Work-life balance, So, and it's
just hard for me. I'm like, I did it for a long time. Yeah. I'm like, I just have to do a couple things. But I get where she's coming from, and she's right.
Yeah.
It's taken me, and again, 3 years, I'm trying to get him in good habits, right? I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we work those 16, 17, 18-hour days. Yeah. You do finally get out of that.
Yeah, because you get so sick of not having jobs, you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah, or you hire something.
Totally. Or you hire people.
Or a coach. And so for him, it's like I'm like just trying to teach him best practices from the beginning. I'm like, don't do that to yourself, because the second you don't have any boundaries, it's hard to go back on that. And we all do it as entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, let me help you not get so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, because you had to live and leave physical therapy your entire practice, really. Yeah. So when you realized that you were overloaded in work and needed to hire somebody, was Tanner your first thought?
It's funny because a lot of people probably thought we've thought about this for like years before we did it.
It kind of just happened.
It just kind of was like an idea, and I like said it out loud. I knew I didn't want to give up any part of my business. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to give up equity. I didn't want to give up any ownership of it. I wanted it. And so it never was a conversation to bring anybody on, because I knew that wasn't a route I was ever going to take.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I was like, I'll work 150 hours a week before I let anybody, whatever. And it was just because I loved what I did.
Yeah.
And I didn't want somebody to take my vision.
Got it.
And skew it.
Was there a bit of you that also didn't want to ask Tanner for help because he was so heavily in his career as well?
I just didn't trust anybody.
Got it.
So it was that
trust issues.
Yeah. It was that delegation, right? I think, again, entrepreneurs can understand this. Delegation's tough.
It is.
It was way easier to be like, take care of our kids. You know how to do that. You're the dad.
Yeah.
Then can you come help me in my business with this client that you have no idea about? So it just became, that was just the easiest, the route of least resistance. Mm-hmm. But no, it was, I need help. And it was like, maybe you could join the business. I don't even really remember exactly how it happened.
You kind of just like threw it on the table.
And it was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And it was like, it was kind of like, oh wow. And then we did it and it was done.
So you were shocked when he was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I was shocked myself.
We're still shocked.
You just like freaking vomit in it? Or
he still has moments where he's like, I can't believe I did that. Like, there's still moments of like, wow, like that was ballsy.
Yeah, I would say for me, at the time I was obviously, focused in my career, and I had like just switched companies and was doing really well, and, had a clear path of continuing to rise up in the company that I was in. And, so when really what happened, like Jamie said, when she brought on Dylan and Joey and the coaches, and then they started to actually become where there was more of a vision of how it could continue to grow, because that was my big concern, is like, with what it was doing, it was like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, to leave my entire salary behind to join this right now just doesn't, it's not even close to making sense. Right. And so then we started hitting some of these big months. And so, I would hear about it and I'd be like, holy smokes. Like, this is getting to the point where, obviously me leaving my career leaves that entire salary and stuff I was making. Right. And it's not going to replace it right away. It's, but it's the possibility was bigger. And so I think that for me, when my mindset shifted around it, was when I realized I'm a physical therapist, and like, yeah, I'm in a great spot. And thankfully with my career, the way that it started off, like I was only 3 years in, and I was, making a lot of money, a lot more than a lot of physical therapists even have been in their career for a long time. Yeah. And so, walking away from that was extremely difficult. But when I realized, as an entrepreneur, the possibilities are endless. Yeah. So the possibilities of like the end game is whatever we wanted to make it. And that's what was enticing to me.
Yeah.
And has been the best part of being an entrepreneur is the way that it's helped me grow and changed me. And it's kind of, in my life, it's kind of been hard to push me out of my comfort zone just because I'm pretty comfortable in difficult situations. And this definitely, like becoming an entrepreneur, leaving my career, way pushed me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so it's really pushed me to be better and to become, to grow. So
yeah. Well, I want to talk about that. So you said it pushes you out of your comfort zone. In what ways do you feel like, if you could describe it, what challenges, did you ever have any challenges about like, oh, okay, I'm the man stepping into the woman relationship? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would definitely say that I did. I would definitely say that I did, especially in the beginning, because I knew so little. I knew so little about business. I knew so little about the business that we were running. Like, I knew so little about operations. Like, I was not an expert at anything. Like, I had, like you said, I got a doctorate in something that I was an expert in, and I feel like I was a pretty damn good physical therapist.
Yeah.
Still am. I still go treat patients now and then. But
let me not say I'm not. I'm working I am.
But, like, I was very comfortable in that space
Yeah.
because I had put the time in to get really good at it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of something that came very natural to me. And so now I was thrown into the situation where none of it is necessarily natural. It's completely something I never even thought I would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to just, and it was hard. I went through my own struggles. I had never been one to struggle with like anxiety or depression. And I went through some real bad like anxiety and depression, having like panic attacks, which was crazy because anyone that knows me, a lot of people probably don't even know that happened to me and would be surprised because I'm the type of person that didn't share that with a lot of people.
Yeah, you seem
until
like
now.
pretty consistently happy, so it's like
Yeah.
interesting to know that. I mean, obviously we all go through our things, and in private, it's not like people record themselves crying nowadays. I've done it sometimes. I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? Like, am I really gonna post this? I don't know. Maybe one day. Yeah, maybe one day when I'm out of the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like you're a pretty naturally and even keeled positive guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to hear that you went through. Would you call it a depression even, or?
Oh yeah, it was. There's some dark days in there. Not that I ever I would say I never got to the point where I was like suicidal or anything like that. Like I never got to that level. But I think a big part for me was just because I had never felt those emotions before. Not to that degree. Again, with the way that kind of just my outlook on life, like I'm pretty comfortable in a lot of situations. It's not that I never went through hard things in my life. I really didn't go through a lot of real hard things for sure. I can appreciate that. But I've just been comfortable in difficult situations. But this was just like so far out from anything.
Anything that you know, yeah.
Yeah, that it just, and like you said, coming into the business and now obviously as the man of the family, like my entire role is to support and protect my family. That's literally all I care about.
Yeah.
And so now I felt like I did not have the same control that I had before. Like
you were treading new waters. You were learning new things. So you kind of were like the infant actually in the relationship. I mean, in the business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that also felt on some ways a little bit demasculating for you to have to relearn everything. But you've picked up. So, like, it's crazy, actually.
It's stupid.
Like, you seem like you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? Look, because Dylan and we talk only highly of you guys, obviously. But we were talking about it. I'm like, dude, fucking Jamie and Tanner are killing it. I'm like, and Tanner just stepped into this role. Like, he's been doing this shit for a long time. I'm like, you picked up everything so quickly. It's like, do you feel like anything in your career of physical therapy has been applicable in the business?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I think that, especially at the role that I have now, I think it's the role that I kind of always saw myself doing in the business, but I never saw the path. So basically, I'm in charge of all the sales. So I'm the one that's sourcing the leads and then getting on the phone with the leads and then taking them through the whole sales process. And then basically the way it works now, like Jamie doesn't even talk to our clients until I've already closed them.
Wow.
And so now I have on my plate that huge responsibility. So in the beginning, that was one of those ways that I talked about where it really pushed me outside my comfort zone. But because I have that innate drive that, look, this is what I have to do to support my family and to protect my family, like that's my driving force behind all of it.
Yeah.
And so I just became laser focused on that being that being what I focused on. And so that's the way I can provide. And so I need to be the best that I can be at that.
Wow.
So.
And Jamie, how does that feel? How did it feel for you to have Tanner step in and start taking over certain aspects of the business? Was it hard to release control at all?
It wasn't hard to release control because at this point I have employees. So I had already been giving up control of the business, and I was more than happy to do so, especially in the sales area.
Yeah.
It was more like, and I think I still struggle with this, so I would say it's still not gone, but a lot of times I feel like this is my business, and like if we struggle with something or he has a disagreement with me, because I'm so used to making all the decisions, and I'm like, well, who are you to say? and I know that that's dumb, right? But him and I talk about it all the time, so I'll tell him like I'm feeling a little control freak right now over the business, because for so long it was mine.
Yeah.
And so I don't think delegating work to Tanner, especially when it was the sales role, I literally walked into a coaching meeting with Dylan and Joey and I was like, I quit sales. I'm firing myself from sales. I hate it. I don't want to do it. It's not my thing. And so I think that passing things off to Tanner was really easy. It was just a matter of like giving up control and realizing like, this isn't just about me and it's not just about Tanner. It's about our team. It's about, our clients, what impact we can have. And so I still struggle with a lot of that, and try to make sure I make good decisions, but that's what's nice having him. He's not as tied to what we do, right? Like the service we provide is like my baby. Like, I love that. He's more about the money making side, the sales side, like what's going to help feed our family, what's going to help us with this. And so he's able to help me make really good decisions, because if it's not what's best for the business, then we're not doing it. But me, I'm like, but I love it. I want to do it so bad. We had virtual assisting, and he fought me for months, like 2 months, to get rid of
months.
Yeah, months. Virtual assistant and getting that out of there, and I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Like, because you guys started as virtual assisting.
Yeah. So we still had that up until about probably 6 months ago, probably 5 months ago.
5 months ago, probably.
We still have a couple lingering clients for that, but we decided we weren't taking any more, and it took him a couple months because I was like, you don't understand, like, who are you trying to come in, you know? And then finally I was like, but he was looking at it from a financial perspective, and he's like, this is not going to carry us, like, we cannot do this. And so he finally pushed it over the edge, and I got rid of it, but had it just been for me and my emotions, I would have kept it probably forever, because it was like, that's how we started.
I love that, because I feel like it's so important to have somebody there to help you correct yourself, because oftentimes I'll find something that I'm really passionate about and I'll do everything for free. I'm like, I'll just do it because I love it. Like, eventually the money will come, and I'm like, that doesn't make any logical sense on me. If you do everything for free, nothing's going to come with money, like, obviously. So it's nice to have a partner, whether it's intimate, friendship, whatever, business partner, to help you, like, kind of correct yourself, because it's easy to get lost, I feel like, in the passions and the services that we provide. But it's good because you guys have such a good balance of, hey, let me cross-check this with you. Does it sit right? And both of you, do you guys have to, like, reach an agreement of yes, then we'll move forward? Or
I think we're both have the same answer. No. I mean, I do. I have pretty much full range is kind of how we have it. I've never had to ask for permission. I'm like, don't make me start now. He, I think, leans way more on the side of like, I'm not doing anything unless I ask Jamie. And again, we've only been at this, doing this for 6 months together. So we're very new at it.
It's crazy.
We're still trying to navigate, like, what does that look like? And, at what point? But I'm way more of like, I'll make a decision, ask for forgiveness later, and be like, sorry, I did this. He's way more of like, I'm not gonna, and that's the husband part of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, he's like, I don't want to go. Yeah, he's like, I don't want to go home with a wife that's mad. More so than a business partner that's mad. It's
I have to deal with the wrath there as well.
Right, 24/7.
But I think it's gotten a lot. I think that's improved a ton.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest shift is not as much in her being willing to let the reins off. I think that's part of it. But I think more of it is just like her confidence in me, because now that she sees the way that I handle it now, and like I took on sales like basically at the drop of a hat, and I've taken that on and just run with it, and she doesn't really have to worry about it. And so like now with things about the business, I think there's more of a trust there from her towards me, and rightfully so. It wasn't there in the beginning. It shouldn't have been. I didn't trust myself in the beginning, right? Like, I trusted myself because I'm a pretty confident person of my abilities, but that's really where it ended. It was just like, I know that I'm going to figure it out. I don't know it.
Yeah.
I know that I don't know it, but I'm confident that I can figure it out. And I think that's how I've done it faster than, you know, maybe I could have if I didn't have that belief in myself. So
I think it's also good too because you're able to kind of put your ego aside and really be like, hey, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or it's cool to lean on you a little bit on these things. And then now you guys have really strengthened each other up to the point where that confidence is built. And I think that's really fucking cool, actually.
Yeah.
Dylan has no idea of anything about this content creation. So whenever he kind of tries to like step in on certain things, I'm like, so that's something that I don't know if Dylan will ever want to even dive into like this side of the world, but if he ever did, that's something I feel like we would have to navigate. So for people who are stepping into business, do you guys have some kind of technique or advice on how to bring up conversations when it's involving the business? Is there like a certain way you approach each other in it, or is it just like, hey, let's just fucking talk about this?
It's funny because we get asked a lot, like, do you guys ever turn business conversation off? And we don't have parameters about like when we talk about business. We are full range. Like, business is always up for grabs, and it's worked fine for us because, again, we enjoy what we do. We have a great team, so a lot of our conversations is how are we going to grow this business and keep it going, not, oh my gosh, this employee, that employee. It's not a lot of negative, it's a lot of positive, which I think helps. But I think as far as like talking about the business and like having that feedback and stuff, like I think it's just about always being honest and just be nice about it. Like you don't, and like, I don't know, Tanner and I are pretty like, you know, we got tough skin, so we probably talk meaner to each other than a lot of people do, but to their spouses.
She's like, I've heard it.
We love each other.
I've heard a couple fuck yous too.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan and I have some healthy fuck yous as well.
Yeah, you know? It's all about, right? And so I would just say, like, just being open and honest and understanding that what you're going to say is going to probably irritate that person and allow them to sit on it. Like, it's okay. Wow. Like, I know when I come to Tanner or something, he's going to be a little irritated.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let him be irritated, and I'm just going to be quiet. Because I know, like, he'll get over that ego part of it, and same with me. I get more irritated than he does. He's a great sport about it. He brings something to me, and I'm like, you don't understand. And then a little bit later, I'm like, all right, you're right. So I think just understanding that person's probably not going to take it. They're not going to love it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. They don't have to love it. You don't have to love it.
Right.
You just have to embrace it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, like Jamie kind of touched on, like, you just have to figure it out for yourself. Like, I truly believe it would be completely different. I truly believe that there's people that are very happily married that there's no way that they could work like we do and do it. And it's different, and that's fine. I would never say, well, our relationship's better. I don't believe that for a second. We've just figured out what works for us.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I think a lot of that, especially like the communication part, again, sometimes if people heard the way that we argue with each other, they would probably think that we're like miserable and hate each other, but that's just the way that we get through things. And we have that mutual understanding. Like, we can be yelling and screaming and swearing at each other, and it sounds horrible, but then we do that for 15 minutes, and then, you know, we're like, all right, cool. Fist bump, like, we're good. Let's move on.
Yeah. It's trial and error.
Yeah, and it's like, for us, it's just the way that we handle things. And there's a lot of people that be like, that's horrible. I can't believe you'd say that to each other.
You'll never see us be mad at each other for longer than like a day, which is totally fine if people do. But I think the reason why our toxic is not letting it last for days. Our toxic is that 15 minutes that it lasts.
Like, you're just releasing.
We're just releasing, but then we're over it versus maybe carrying it on for a couple of days, which I know has its own issues too. Yeah. So it's all about preference, what works for you. I don't know, we go to bed mad at each other too. A lot of people say don't do that. We go to bed mad at each other and it works for us, right? Like, everybody has things that work for them and things that don't work for them. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I would say it's very custom to everyone, right? Like,
we've customized our relationship.
Our marriage is custom.
Yeah, like, what works for us, like, I'm almost like hesitant to even talk about it because it's like, I know for a fact that what works for us would not work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, people couldn't, on both ends, like, a lot of people couldn't handle their wife talking to them the way that she talks to me. A lot of women couldn't handle a man talking to them, the way I talk to her, like I know that I'm far from innocent in this
Yeah.
relationship too. But like that works for us. It's the way it's
Yeah.
always been. We're coming up on 8 years of marriage in 5 days.
Wow.
Is our anniversary.
Oh my
So
gosh, you guys' anniversaries in 5 days.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to ask questions about the flame and the passion. So in 5 days, it'll
We're
be
excited.
really high.
We're excited. We're going to Hotel Valley Ho for it,
Oh,
too.
okay. I like that
Yeah.
place. They have that Zuzu cafe or some
Yeah,
shit.
we
Yeah,
need to
that's
check it
nice.
out.
Delicious.
We're a couple days away. We need to figure out what we're gonna do while we're out
we
there.
haven't really
Yeah.
been busy. We haven't planned a whole lot.
Yeah.
We booked the hotel. From there, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, well, hey, sometimes it's nice to just flow and not actually
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
schedule. Actually, I prefer to do vacations or anything
Yeah.
like that because
Yeah.
everything in your life, especially as entrepreneurs, has to be so structured that it's nice to just book something and be like, all right, fuck it, we'll figure it out when we're there.
And the kids aren't with us, so I mean, at the end of the day, like, if we laid in bed all day, like, not mad at it.
Yeah.
You know,
Which we would
Yeah.
never do. We always
Well,
talk
I
about
know.
that.
We're like, we're gonna do nothing, and then by 8 a.m. I'm like,
We gotta
all
do
right, well,
something.
we gotta
Yeah, we gotta do something.
get out of this house.
Not anything
Hotel,
crazy,
this,
but we
whatever.
gotta go do something. Like we gotta
Yeah.
move. We gotta get out. We gotta
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're movers.
We're movers. So going back into your guys' business and everything, in what ways do you feel like you kind of depend on each other at this point? In what ways do you lean into each other?
I would say for me, because with what we do in the operations space and like doing operations, and it's very like high level touch that we have to have, and very high level knowledge, and be an expert ultimately at like business operations. And like that's Jamie, and that's not me. So if Jamie was gone, I'm not running the business really, because that's not my area of expertise. Could I get there, and have I gone a long ways to get there? Absolutely, I have, and I think that I will be considered in a similar way. But you know, she's continuing to get better too. So it's like I don't need to catch her though. I have a different focus. So if I can become the expert in what I have on my plate, and she can continue to become the expert, I tell everyone when I'm on sales calls, I say Jamie's the operations wizard. Like I'll pass you off to
And
her.
we're one wall away, and I'm always like, here it is
You can hear
again.
you're like, dang it.
She knows.
Like, so awkward.
Anyone I'm gonna get on a call with, if you hear that, don't hold me to it.
Yeah.
Just
Oh
act like
my
it's the
God.
first time you heard that.
Yeah, we talk a lot about divide and conquer. Right, because a lot of times, because we do spend so much time together, a lot of times we're like, man, we're wasting time. Like, why did we both come to this event, or why did we both do this? Like,
Yeah.
how could we have taken more advantage of our time? So we talk a lot about dividing and conquering and staying in our lanes. You know, like you said, when I got out of sales, I don't care what they do on the sales side. Him and our business coaches will be in a room talking about it, and he'll try to explain it to me, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. You're
Like, that's not my
the
realm.
service.
I'm gonna stay in my realm and my expertise, you know. And so I think that we have, and like you said, it comes with that trust. Like, I trust him fully. I wouldn't say fully. I still check on him just once in a while. But as any great business owner should do, right? You should always be checking on your business. And so I think that, yeah, like, he stays in his lane, his sales. He gets to do basically like have free range to do what he wants and change and test. In the same route, he gives me the ability to, like, what webinars am I going to take? What am I going to, like, how am I going to allocate funds to my continuing education? And like, there's a trust of like, you're going to do what you're going to do, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And we're going to trust that we're both going to touch it high level. And we're going to,
And we have the same end game in mind. We're working towards the same goal, and we can both, if we both focus on different things, we can get there quicker, more efficiently, in a better way. And I think it's good that we have separate things that we're in charge of, just because it's like
makes conversation better. There's more to talk about.
Yeah. I can't
and we both
imagine
kind of
if-
feel like we own it, right? Like I can own my thing, and she can own her side, and then we can own the business as a whole together. But because we have those separate pieces that we kind of like own, I think for me especially, it's made me feel a lot better about it.
Yeah.
It's nice because then you get to stay in your lane of genius without having to step on each other's toes, and you focus on one thing, and it really does bring you to the end goal faster. Versus trying to do everything all by yourself. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think
commend you.
we're kind of like the same way with our team though too. Like, we don't step on their toes, you know, like they take care of the clients, and my rule is always, if I don't hear from the clients and you're getting your work done, I don't really, you know, like, we're good.
Oh,
you
it's
know?
so good. You're not breathing over your shoulder. You're like,
No.
you did this
I'm
wrong.
I tell them, like, I don't have time to micromanage. Like, I'm one person. Tanner is one person.
You guys have a family.
We have family, and like, I just, so I think that it's just it translates down to our team. Like, you are the expert in this. We're trusting you to do this. do it.
Cool.
So,
do you guys find a lot of time for your own kind of individual selves to keep yourself sane? I feel like you spend so much time together and work and business.
We're working on it.
Okay.
It goes through phases. We'll talk about like, man, like we should really have a lot of things apart. So then, like we'll start doing things and then we're like, well, like maybe that's not that big of a deal. And so then like we don't have anything apart. I think we go through phases. And I think right now we're really focusing on dividing and conquering, not for our own sanity, but more so for like we could just
cover more ground.
Yeah. So I think it naturally is starting to happen more, not because, like I said, the need of like we need to get away, but more of in the breath of like we can create so much more and help and do something, all the things.
Yeah.
If we take different paths.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we need to work on and that we can be better at. And I think that there's seasons, like with anything in life. Like we're kind of just in this season, as like being around with what we're doing all the time. Like we're just in a season where we really gotta focus. Like we have a lot of opportunity right now in front of us, and so that's what we're focused on. We're just laser focused on our kids, making sure they're good and they're happy, and the business. And anything that is not in alignment with that, we just have to start saying no to, because that, number one, that's the most important things. Family obviously being the number one priority, but ultimately the business is what supports our family and makes it so we can do fun things, and it's good for our kids to see us doing what we're doing too, and pushing ourselves and growing, and
for
sure stressful at times for them too.
I know it's stressful for them at times.
They're learning about entrepreneurship.
And they're probably not going to want to be entrepreneurs. I do not want to do what my parents did. Are you kidding me? No, it'll be good.
It'll be good.
You're like, yes. Do you think the whole concept of, we need to have our me time and like me be myself and yada yada is almost like, it's just not applicable to everybody, I feel like. I think some people have more of a threshold where they can go longer periods without having to have me time, essentially. But then I feel like also just with the way that society is, it's like all about self-care, all about me time and blah blah, and if you don't have it, you're not happy. But I don't think that's true. I think some people can not have a lot of me time and still be happy. But I don't know, what are your guys' opinion on that?
Well, my first thought is like, for me, I like really enjoy Tanner's company, and I truly feel like I can talk to him about anything. Like I don't have a lot of friends, right? Like Tanner, we got married 8 years ago, so not a lot.
Okay,
but the ones I
that's
have,
what I want to hear.
100%, and the ones that I have are like the best friends that I could have ever have asked for, lifetime, right? But like for me, I truly enjoy your company, and I believe that obviously married couples all around the world enjoy each other's company. So I'm not saying we're different, but for me, I feel, I don't know, I guess I don't really know how to explain it, but I guess I do have a higher threshold, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Like I don't feel this need to like be by myself, and maybe that's a problem. Maybe that is the problem.
I don't think so. See, I think the problem is you thinking it's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to spend more, because I'm kind of the same with Dylan. Like, he's the one who suggests more me time, if anything, and I'm like, fine, I'll go do my me time stuff. Like, I'll do my yoga, and then I'm like, okay, I want to be with Dylan again.
Yeah, I would say, and we've talked about this same question kind of before in different ways, but thankfully, like, our interests, and I think this has happened over time, right? Like, we're coming up on 8 years of marriage, but like our interests are very much in alignment. Like we enjoy the same, like we watch on TV is either stand-up comedy or podcasts.
I love it.
And so it's like, and we both enjoy that. So like it's very easy, like our forms of entertainment are very much in alignment. What we enjoy is very much in alignment. The music we enjoy is very much in alignment. And again, that has all meshed over time. That was not something that was always that way. Far from it.
Far from it.
And so I think that that's part of it. I think for me personally, I think there's still things, especially for me, that I think because Jamie's so passionate about the business and it's been her baby for the last 3 years and she's spent so much time in it, that it's easier for her to just be like, that's all she's happy. That's where she's happy. I think I would benefit from having some more, I love hunting. I want to go shoot my bow. I don't get to do a lot of that stuff right now, and that's fine. Like, that's the season we're in. I understand that. And I think having that understanding is what makes it okay currently. But I know that I want to get back to doing that stuff. And if Jamie wants to come do it with me, I'm more than happy to bring her along.
Yeah,
with me.
so it's
Just
not like
necessarily
I need to go be in the fucking forest shooting my bow by myself. Not that kind of thing. But if Jamie wants to tag along, you're open to
Yeah. I just have more outside things, I guess, that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And she's starting to get a couple of things.
But the business is mine.
Yeah.
You know, like when somebody asks me about my hobbies, it's always the worst question because I'm like,
the business?
shit, I don't know the business. Like, I just, how do I make the business literally the best it could be? That's my hobby.
Which is good. That's why it's a big, huge reason why it's gone to where it's gone in the amount of time it has, because she's so passionate about it.
Yeah.
So do you feel like this is the ultimate dream is growing this business in particular, or is there new things in the horizon for you guys?
No, I think this is our first step of a lot of things. Our goal is to not have this business forever. Our goal is to get it to a point where we can sell it, honestly, and we're very open about that with anybody we talk to in our team and all of that stuff. You know, we love the business. There's a lot of wonderful things about it. It's amazing and it's fun, but we have a lot of things we want to do. We have a lot travel,
Do you
really
feel
like so many things. And so no, I think this will be like kind of our stepping stone of what kind of helps us push into our future. So
do you think that having this business helped you expand that dream? Because did you guys always want to start new businesses?
No.
Not until recently.
No, I mean, obviously, you know, I went to college for 7 years to get a doctorate and become a physical therapist, and I was very much like, that's all I'm ever going to do. And so now I tell people, like, I've caught the entrepreneurial bug. Like, that's very much a part of who I am now. And I think that that's pretty common thread amongst entrepreneurs is like, it's hard. Like, it's hard.
It's really hard.
There's very few things I believe that you could do in life that are harder than like being an entrepreneur and bootstrapping a business and like coming up. Like, it is extremely difficult. And so I have so much more of an appreciation for people that do that at a high level and that are good at it, because I now know how hard it is. But because of that, it's not just that we enjoy the business or that we enjoy being entrepreneurs. Like, we genuinely enjoy the journey of it. And I think that's why we'll move on to other things, because I think it's going to get to the point with this business that it's just like, we've been doing it for a long time. It's not that we're not going to have a love for it, but we're just going to be ready for a new challenge. Like, because that's, it's not that we enjoy the money or the whatever, like, definitely not. Right? Like, that's yet to come, right? So, really, we just enjoy the journey and the growth that it gives you. And I think that's why we'll move on to other things, because, you know, you're never done. Like, if I feel like we're at the mindset now, like, if you stop growing, you're done. Yeah. Like, that's it. Like, if you're not growing, that's it. So.
Yeah, totally. Like, we talk, we feel like there's just more potential, more possibilities, right? As an entrepreneur, you can live wherever you want for the most part and do all these things. And Tanner had 3 weeks of PTO, which was great where he worked, but that was it. You got 3 weeks, and you got to be in the office from 9 to 5 every day other than that.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. I hated every time I had to like gear up to ask for a vacation. It was so stressful. I'm like, what if I get denied? I already bought the tickets. Oh fuck!
Do I
didn't even ask.
Like, so crazy.
Yeah, and now you're just like, yes, you work a crazy, tremendous amount of hours, but it's worth it because it's something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, and I don't think you work that many hours forever.
Yeah, no, not forever.
You shouldn't. In the beginning. You shouldn't, right? Like, eventually, I think you grow out of that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, for a while, it sucks a little bit for a while. Yeah. And it still has its shitty days, but it's starting to reap the benefits. Yeah. We're starting to see the consistency. We're starting to see, right? Like, we're right at the beginning stages of, like, oh, wow, like, we're actually building. Like, we're building something. Yeah. We talk about it all the time. We're like, what the heck? Yeah. How do people trust us? Like, to do this kind of stuff. Like, we feel like just kids. Like, it was the same thing. We brought our daughter home from the hospital, and I'm like, I can't believe they let us go home with this kid. Yeah. Like, who's to trust us? And I sometimes feel about this business, like, I cannot believe, like, we're doing this. Because we're still at the very, very early stages of reaping some sort of benefit from it.
Do you guys feel like because you're doing it together that it just makes the journey more enjoyable? Do you think you would have the same experience doing it on your own?
I would say 100%, because I think the hardest thing, and I had a conversation like this with someone recently, where you don't really understand you can never fully understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur and to have that type of drive and that type of passion unless you're in it. It's one of those things that you almost, and then I think there's a lot of things like that in life. I think there's a lot of things that you may think that you understand what it's like to be in that person's shoes, but until you are, you really don't understand.
Yeah, that's so true.
And so I think that part, for me especially, has been so huge in enjoying that journey together, because now we're both on the same journey. And before it was like, I think that was a lot of what, when, you know, at that time where she was in the business working all these hours and I was in my career, like it pushed us apart a lot because she had this passion, this drive towards this thing, but I was like, whoa, I can't. And I couldn't. And it was good that I didn't, because that's what needed to happen.
Yeah.
But that has been such a huge, you know, eye-opening thing, but also that's like such a huge, great part of me coming into the business is now we can go on that journey together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think for me, what I like the most about it is I remember he would come home and it was like, well, this client and this person, and I would try to explain to him a story and he'd be like, it didn't hold the same magnitude as it did for me. And like I would have a really hard day, like I would lose a client, or, you know, early on in the business or something would happen, and like we started the business and then the pandemic happened like not that long after that.
Oh yeah.
And so it was like, oh my gosh, like the business, and I couldn't tell Tanner. Like it felt very heavy for me. I felt like I was losing something, although it was not our main source of income, although it wasn't going to have like any real life effects. I mean, now looking back, if I would have stopped doing it, I see the lifetime effects of it. But at the time, there was nothing. And so, but for me, I didn't want to lose it. I was like, man, I've already worked so many hours and put so much love and attention into this thing, but I couldn't really express that to him because he's like, you're just a virtual assistant. Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But to me,
understand it as well.
but to me, it was like, I've put like my heart into this thing and I've made like no money doing it. I've sacrificed time with my kids and all this stuff, and now to like watch it starting to fall was hard. And so now he understands. Like now he gets it. All the hard times, all the good times, it's more enjoyable, and it's easier to get through the hard too. So
that's cool. Are you guys gonna teach your kids about this business, or you think you just want to teach them about entrepreneurship, or how?
I don't think we'll have this business long enough for them to learn about it. Like to know a lot about it. And personally, I mean, our daughter sometimes sits on our calls and she'll ask what we do, but to me, I think our focus, at least I can talk for myself and what like we've had several conversations about, is like we just want our kids to be happy. Yeah. And we want them to do, if it's going to college and it's doing something, or it's going to a trade school, or it's not going to college and starting your own business, or whatever it is, you want to be a solopreneur, like I just want my kids to feel empowered to do whatever the fuck it is they want to do. Because I didn't get that. Yeah. I was forced to go to college. It was like you either find a full-time job or you go to college like when you're 18. And for me, I want my kids to know like whatever it is you want to do, even if it's like something that's not going to make you a ton of money or whatever it is, if you're happy doing it, then fucking go do it. Because at the end of the day, happiness is all you got. Yeah. It's very all true. You have.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for me, it's opened up just the realm of possibilities. And I think that, again, to echo everything that Jamie just said, like that's my mindset now. And I don't think I would have had that same mindset before. I think I would have been more, and having gone to college for 7 years, I also understand how much of like a scam that is in a lot of ways. Gosh, like it makes me a little bit.
Degree, I barely hung it this year. I've had it for 10 years.
We did hang Tanner's degree in the office.
It's only because it's so fucking expensive. Like, what are you gonna do with it? That's the most expensive piece of paper I've ever owned. I'm like, but I'm not. Well, I guess technically now I'm communicating, which is what I studied, but I mean, I could learn that through life experience.
For sure.
Yeah, it got me. They got me.
They got me.
They got me good.
Yeah, it's funny because nowadays I feel like, you know, your kid says they want to go to college and you're like, are you sure?
Yeah. Like, but like for what? If it's technical,
sure.
then yes.
That's what
you were in physical therapy.
Exactly. You have to go to school to do what you want to do. That's going to make you happy. Do it.
For sure.
But more often times than not.
Anything else. Go do an internship somewhere for free. Go work somewhere for free. You'll spend way less money doing that,
and you'll make more connections.
Yeah.
And I think that's the cool perspective that I have, because I think I have a unique perspective in that, because like I went to school and got a doctorate in something that I don't do anymore.
Yeah.
And only
Well,
3
you
years
still
later.
do. You went
I do it,
Saturday.
yeah. Like
He
I
goes,
still go
every
cover.
once in a while because
Yeah.
you just love it.
Yeah.
I do. I love it, and it was
Yeah.
fun to go back in the clinic and like there's a
Yeah.
lot of benefit to me for that, like helping people out and all that.
Well, you
but
know, and people need some stuff done. It's good to keep up on your
for
license
sure,
and all that kind of
for
stuff.
sure.
Yeah.
But I think that that's like a unique perspective that I have from my kids now to be like, hey, look, if you have a career that you want to go do and go to school for, I can relate to that because I did that. If you don't and you want to run at something else and learn something else, you can do that too because I did it.
Yeah.
I shifted my career completely.
Yeah.
I had never done sales of anything in my entire life.
Wow.
But again, a lot of things with physical therapy and talking to patients and that, like 100% is a big part of transfer over to what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
But like I learned a completely new skill.
Yeah.
Our daughter said she wants to open up a Dutch Bros.
Oh.
And I want to open up a Dutch Bros, but I didn't work
And
there
I
for
want to be
2
a
years.
customer of your Dutch Bros.
Yeah.
So this is gonna work out
This is
really
gonna work
well.
out. Well, it's funny because you have to work there for 2 years before you can open up one. Supposedly, that's what
That's
we
part
do.
of the
2 or 3,
franchise deal.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so
Which is cool. I
Yeah,
like that. But
I like
which
that.
is great, but we were like, do we get free coffee? Like, we'll help invest, And she's like, no, you guys got to pay, but no, Papa, get it for free. And I'm like, listen. And I was
I
like,
think you got the roles confused here.
Like,
okay.
I'm the one who raised you, but it's
I think we should all get it for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. I vote for
At least
Dutch
it
Bros.
costs. Like, at least had it cost.
Yeah, I know what the costs are.
At least give me a discount.
Yeah.
A mom and dad discount.
Yeah, seriously.
I'll show you my AARP card.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay, we'll take it.
Give me the senior discount. It's not because we're family.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's cool. I mean, I feel like teaching your kids, especially because you guys have gotten to explore all the different avenues of, yes, having a career that you studied in and then shifting into entrepreneurship. And now you've really picked up tools from all different areas of life. And it's going to be really cool to see how your kids develop and decide what they want to do. And you guys are open to all avenues. You're not going to like force them into anything. You're just going to let them explore and be
100%.
supportive when they land on something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the other cool thing, again, going back to the perspective thing, is like, I was very happy. I was very happy in my career as a physical therapist. Like, I could have done that for the rest of my life and been happy. Do I see now a lot of the ways where I'm like, okay, it already in the last 7 months has changed me for the better in a million different ways. And I'm so thankful for that. And I'm excited that that's what I get to do for the rest of my life now, is whatever I want and however I want. And like, I get to grow where I want to go. But I truly believe that this route is definitely not for everyone. That's why there's a lot of people that fail at it. There's why a lot of people that would never want to do it or just wouldn't be successful. It's not for everyone. So I can relate also to the people that got in a career that they love, and that's fine. And that's what makes you happy, and it's safe and it's good. And there's still a lot of growth that you can do, and you can still move up. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that lifestyle whatsoever. So I think that's what will be cool with our kids, is like being able to accept whatever they want to do.
Yeah,
and
entrepreneurship,
just
8 to 5, whatever it is. Yeah.
And like Jamie said, like, as long as you're happy and you feel like that's where you want to go in life, and for the biggest thing for me now especially is like, as long as you feel like you're continuing to improve. I can't stand it when you're just like, this is it, this is my life, that's all it's ever going to be. I'm not trying to push forward. Like, that's unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable for my kids. It's unacceptable for me. It's unacceptable for her.
And it's not healthy for your guys' relationship too. If none of you guys had any passions to move in any direction, you would just be stuck.
Yeah.
And eventually one of you would be like, I'm over it. Like, I want to continue learn something new, or because we're humans, like, we're supposed to be learning and being passionate about things. I feel like we're supposed to be creating too.
Yeah, we
guys are doing.
We got like what's the average lifespan now? We got like 75 years on this planet or something like that. It's like, I'd like to leave with like some memories and some good times and
even the hard times.
The hard times. 100%. The hard times are honestly, I say this, are some of the best times. Yeah. Because it's the
after
time.
The fact.
After the fact. But it's at the time. It's times like that put you on your ass. It humbles you, and you get to really evaluate and become better because you've broken down so much. And so I don't know, like, for me, the hard times are some of the best hindsight.
And I think going back to that period of time for me where like I was going through all that depression, anxiety and all that, I think that's like what Jamie just said is exactly what it was. Like, it broke me down to my core, and I had to dig myself out of it. And the cool thing is now I have that experience. Yeah. So it's not the last time.
Yeah.
It's far from the last time I'm going to go through anxiety and have depression. Like, I know for a fact it's not the last time that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it was to that level, especially the first time it happened to me. But now I have the tools and I have more of an understanding of like, okay, that's what this is. And I can get through it because I've done it before.
Yeah.
So.
You just know you're capable. You really do get a new opportunity with every breakdown to rebuild yourself in a better, more stronger version of yourself.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great note to end it on, guys. Is there anything that we should be looking out for with you guys in the business? What's 2023? What should we be looking out for?
Oh man, so many good things. So many good things. I would say that we sponsor AZE.
Oh yes, so they sponsor Arizona Entrepreneurs here, which is a huge networking group out here. And you guys are crushing it.
Hi. Just come say hi.
Come say hi.
Yeah.
They do monthly events, right?
Yep. But yeah, I think we're excited. 2023 is going to be big.
Just, and I say too, like, support the people around you. And, that's the biggest thing that we love to do is there's a lot of ways. I think a lot of times people wonder how you can support your friends that have businesses, and it's hard, right? Like, almost none of our friends would be our clients. But, we still appreciate their support and that, hey, love what you guys are doing. Yeah. We want to be that way for other people. And so, like, if you're someone out there that, like, knows people that are entrepreneurs, like, doing big things, like, just telling them that you support what they're doing, like, that is huge. Yeah, it's huge. So, keep an eye out. We love to be cheerleaders for other people, too, So if you feel like you're someone that needs a cheerleader, call us up. We'll be your hype man. We're your hype people, so we love hyping people up. So
cool. All right, guys. Well, that is the wrap up of, I don't even know what episode this is. The eighth episode, I think. Thank you for listening, and we will have another episode next week.